Now let's talk MTN, which of course is one of the world's largest mobile phone companies, as Joseph mentioned, by customers. Although they've got a lot of customers in places like Nigeria, Ghana, Iran, where the average revenue per user is quite low. They also are the number 2 provider here in South Africa. Market capitalization, 233.6 billion rands. Price earnings ratio, 30.17. Dividend yield, 5.64. They've held the dividend through some very tough times. Show us the share chart. You'll see not a happy picture. That slump in 2014, 2015 is because of the big regulatory fine that they got hit with in Nigeria. I don't know what to say about that other than, I don't know. I mean, and since then, battling their way back.
They've been having issues almost everywhere. That's unfortunate, right? Okay, they're almost becoming like Econet, where they faced litigation in every country where they operated. So it started with Nigeria, 5.2 billion. They were basically
US dollars.
US dollars.
I don't know, but in the end, they negotiated a discount.
It got reduced to about 2 something or 3.2.
And it's payable over some years. I don't even know what it was anymore, but it was a huge number.
But I think it was more of a governance issue now that has hit them hard, because they're saying it's repeating. I think it in Sudan or one of the countries was also
they've had issues. You're right, in Uganda. They had issues, I think, in Cameroon, various places where
obviously
they were then
Iran,
accused
we
of
all
not.
know,
And it's all about the registration of customers and making sure that you don't sell a SIM card to someone without a proof of residence and all that sort of thing.
So when you do that, when you don't basically require of your customers to provide you enough information, that means you're having a competitive advantage, because you're saying, you know what, I don't care where you're getting your money from, as long as you sign in and you become our client. And that is hit
And the
them
governments
very hard.
don't like this, because of course they want to be able to trace activity if somebody is guilty of some criminal activity or if there's a terrorism concern, like in Nigeria they've been. But I don't know, man.
Because remember in the old days, right, here people, well, I'm not saying anybody is a thief, but we had lots of car hijackers and petty thieves. They would buy a SIM card, use it, commit crime, and throw it away. You can't then trace. But now with the RICA and all the other regulations coming through, you cannot just buy any SIM card.
I suppose. But, you know, really, I mean, at some level it's true, but you've got also an environment where a lot of people don't have a fixed address.
I'm with you,
Anyway, well, as far as MTN goes, it's under new management. Do you see that bringing about improved profitability?
I think there were a lot of changes in MTN. First, obviously, it was the executive that started it. That started the whole growth story, led by Putuma Nhleko. Then there was Fiso Dabengwa, and it's unfortunate he left. And obviously, there's the other crop that started coming through. I think they got Romeo Kumalo. He is their communications. I think he was in East Africa initially.
Ralph Mupita, ex Old Mutual guy, and Rob Shooter, who was also ex Vodafone.
I think they've got an APSA guy.
Free Motza, who is, and the APSA guy is Steve Van Colo, who's the one who did sort of more merchant banking strategy type thing. So they're going to deepen the team, and I assume that means maybe less mistakes, you know, maybe some cost cuts coming down the line.
Certainly. They brought in people who have been involved more in the financial services industry, and this is really to send the message that obviously businesses like right now, like telecom business, they are more financial services business because of what they offer, but certainly also from a corporate governance and just making sure that they manage their finances better.
What about Nigeria, though? Because the key is really, like, both Nigeria and Iran need to have more sales and more average revenue per user so that the revenues come up. Are you positive about Nigeria?
Nigeria, no, really. I think there are a lot of things happening in Nigeria. It's a big population, looking about 150 million to 180 million people. It's huge, okay? But also, it depends, obviously, how they're spending the money. And there's also competition.
It's all about oil, right?
There's oil. So really, if their revenue, in particular government revenue, that basically goes to the GDP and hopefully to the benefit in the street, depends on the oil, there might be a little bit of some struggle there.
So at $50 a barrel, it's kind of looking a little bit better because it was at 45 last year, but we're not talking about the gangbuster days of 2014, 2013.
Certainly not.
A little bit harder.
It's going to take a little bit longer for oil price to go above 60.
Okay, but you know, MTN has held the dividend, which tells you the board thinks that they can sustain that level of profitability. The PE ratio is still quite high, but that's because they're still writing off stuff and so on from the past. The demand for the product remains very strong. The handsets are brilliant. People want to be able to talk to each other online, blah, blah, blah. Does one still go hot on this one?
Long term, I think possibly you can still have an entry. You're going to get short-term volatility. I mean, it's been battling to break 130 rand per share. So I think if it does that, if it breaks that, I think, you know, I could put it a hot. I think they're trying to fix things. They just need to bring in the trust and make sure that the governance issues are not repeated.
So you reckon the past is the past, the future is the future?
I think the past is gone.
Tip it as a hot.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'll tip
good.
it as a hot.